A quiet voice within you already knows the way. Asterisk. The 7 factors of awakening. Times gently reveals how mindfulness, balance, and stillness mature into deep freedom through lived meditation practice. Let the mind soften, listen, and remember what awakening feels like.
The book, The 7 Factors of Awakening, is available on Amazon as Kindle, paperback, and hardcover.
Using the 7 Factors of Awakening in advanced meditation practice. When longer sits become possible and the mind has tasted the quiet joy of higher jhanic experience, meditation changes its texture. Time softens. The body becomes transparent. Attention no longer needs to be forced. At this stage, the 7 factors of awakening are no longer theoretical signposts. They become living instruments, like fine adjustments on a delicate musical instrument. Each factor can be emphasized, softened, or allowed to recede, depending on what the mind needs in that very moment. The crucial insight at this stage is that awakening is not achieved by pushing harder. It unfolds through balance. The 7 factors are not a ladder climbed rung by rung. They are a dynamic field, constantly interacting in longer sits and higher jhanas. Skill lies in sensing which factor is deficient and which is excessive, then gently correcting the imbalance. Mindfulness as the regulator. Mindfulness is the quiet overseer of the entire process. In advanced practice, it is no longer a narrow attention to an object, but a broad, stable knowing. It holds the whole field of experience without preference. Sensations, joy, stillness, subtle restlessness, even the fading of perception itself are known without interference. During longer sits, mindfulness prevents drifting into dull absorption or ecstatic distraction. It notices the first hint of heaviness before it becomes torpor. It notices the first shimmer of excitement before it destabilizes stillness. In higher jhanas, mindfulness becomes almost contentless. It knows without commenting. It does not grasp, even at peace. A practical way to refine mindfulness at this stage is to periodically notice the quality of knowing itself. Not what is known, but how it is known. Is awareness bright or dim, wide or contracted, effortless or strained? This gentle meta-knowing keeps the practice aligned without disrupting depth. Investigation without agitation. Investigation in early practice can feel active, even analytical. In advanced meditation, it becomes intuitive and almost wordless. It is the mind's natural curiosity functioning without restlessness. It discerns impermanence not as an idea, but as a subtle shimmer in stillness. It recognizes unsatisfactoriness, not as pain, but as the inability of any state to be owned. It sees impersonality as a simple fact rather than a philosophical position. In higher jhanas, investigation must be extremely light. Too much, and the mind rises out of absorption. Too little, and the mind may stagnate. The art is to allow investigation to function as recognition rather than probing. For example, noticing that even profound peace has a beginning, a presence, and a fading. This noticing happens by itself when the mind is balanced. One practical approach is to allow investigation only at transitions. When entering a deeper state, notice what changed. When leaving it, notice what dissolved. During the state itself, rest. Energy refined into presence. Energy in advanced meditation is no longer muscular effort. It is the subtle aliveness that keeps awareness clear. In longer sits, insufficient energy leads to sinking and fog. Excess energy leads to agitation or over-brightness. The middle way is a quiet vitality that feels almost like being gently lit from within. When energy is low, the remedy is often simple. Straighten the posture slightly, open the eyes for a moment, reconnect with the body as a whole field rather than a single point. When energy is excessive, soften the breath. Allow attention to widen. Let go of any subtle striving to maintain a state. In higher jhanas, energy becomes extremely refined. It may feel as if the mind is effortlessly hovering, neither moving nor collapsing. Trust this. Do not interfere. Energy at this level sustains itself when not manipulated. Joy without attachment. Joy is one of the great temptations of advanced practice. It can be luminous, expansive, even overwhelming. It is also impermanent. In the 7 factors, joy is not meant to intoxicate, but to uplift. Its function is to counter discouragement and dryness, not to become an object of clinging. In longer sits, joy may arise as waves or as a steady glow. The instruction is simple but subtle. Enjoy without leaning. Let joy be known fully, yet do not move toward it. When the mind inclines to grasp, joy becomes agitation. When the mind allows joy to be present without ownership, it naturally matures into tranquility. In higher jhanas, joy often gives way to a quieter happiness or contentment. This transition should not be resisted. Each refinement brings greater stability and clarity. Trust the process. Tranquility as the gateway to depth. Tranquility is the settling of both body and mind. In advanced meditation, it becomes profound. The body may feel distant or absent. The breath becomes extremely subtle. Thought subsides, not by suppression, but by irrelevance. When tranquility is strong, there is a temptation to freeze the experience. This creates subtle tension. Instead, allow tranquility to deepen organically. The mind knows how to settle when not interfered with. Tranquility supports the higher jhanas by providing a stable platform. Without it, absorption cannot sustain itself. With it, the mind rests naturally, like a lake without wind. Concentration without rigidity. Concentration in advanced practice is unified attention without strain. It is not narrow fixation, but coherence. The mind feels gathered, whole, and steady. In longer sits, concentration may fluctuate. Rather than forcing it back, notice what weakened it. Often, it is subtle desire, subtle aversion, or subtle identification with experience. Gently release these, and concentration returns by itself. In higher jhanas, concentration becomes effortless. There is no sense of doing, only staying out of the way. If effort reappears, soften. If dullness appears, brighten. Let concentration be alive, not rigid. Equanimity is the crown, Equanimity is the maturation of all the other factors. It is not indifference, but deep intimacy without preference. Pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral are all received with the same quiet acceptance. In advanced meditation, equanimity allows the mind to remain balanced even as perception becomes extremely subtle. It is what enables the mind to stay present at the edge of cessation without fear or grasping. Cultivating equanimity involves repeatedly letting go of the urge to improve experience. Even the desire for awakening must eventually be released. When equanimity is complete, the mind stops interfering with reality. At that point, insight unfolds on its own. Working with the factors dynamically, the 7 factors are not practiced one at a time. They are tuned moment by moment. When the mind is dull, emphasize investigation and energy. When the mind is restless, emphasize tranquility and equanimity. When the mind is balanced, emphasize nothing. Simply rest in mindfulness. In longer sits, periodically check the balance without breaking absorption. This is done intuitively, not through thinking. A quiet inner knowing senses imbalance before it becomes a problem. From absorption to liberation. The higher jhanas are not the goal. They are refined conditions that make insight inevitable when the 7 factors are mature. When mindfulness is steady, investigation is clear, energy is balanced, joy is unattached, tranquility is deep, concentration is unified, and equanimity is complete, the mind naturally sees through all constructed experience. At that point, nothing needs to be done. The path completes itself. Long sits and deep absorptions are a privilege, but they are also a responsibility. Use them not to collect experiences, but to refine wisdom. The 7 factors of awakening are the compass. When followed with patience and humility, they lead beyond states, beyond attainment, into freedom itself. Antidotes for distractions in meditation. Using the 7 factors of awakening. Distractions are not enemies of meditation. They are diagnostics. Each distraction reveals an imbalance in the mind, and the 7 factors of awakening provide a complete and precise medicine cabinet. When used skillfully, they do not suppress distraction but dissolve its causes. Every wandering thought, emotional pull, or foggy collapse can be met with the correct factor, applied gently and intelligently. The essential principle is this: distraction is never random. It always arises from too much or too little of something. The 7 factors allow you to diagnose the imbalance and apply the appropriate antidote without struggle. Mindfulness as the first antidote. Mindfulness is the universal solvent. Before correcting anything, distraction must be known clearly. Not judged, not analyzed, simply known. When distraction appears, the first step is to acknowledge it fully. Know that the mind has wandered. Know the quality of that wandering. Is it restless, dull, emotional, compulsive, dreamy? This clear recognition already weakens distraction because it restores presence. If mindfulness is weak, distraction multiplies. Strengthening mindfulness means simplifying. Return to the bare experience of sitting. Feel the body as a whole. Feel contact with the ground. Let awareness widen rather than narrow. A broad, steady mindfulness naturally reduces fragmentation. Investigation as antidote to dullness and habitual thinking. Some distractions arise from inertia rather than agitation. The mind drifts into repetitive stories, half dreams, or vague fog. Here, the antidote is investigation. Investigation does not mean thinking about the distraction. It means gently turning interest toward immediate experience. What exactly is this dullness made of? Where is it felt in the body? Is it heavy, warm, static, diffuse? What happens if it is simply known more clearly? This quiet curiosity re-energizes the mind without agitation. It brings freshness. Habitual thoughts lose their grip when seen as transient phenomena rather than meaningful narratives. Energy as antidote to sloth and collapse. When distraction takes the form of sleepiness, heaviness, or sinking, the missing factor is energy. Energy at this level is not force. It is wakefulness. Small adjustments are often enough. Straighten the spine, open the chest slightly. Take a deeper breath or two. Let awareness brighten. Mentally, reconnect with the intention to be present, not as pressure, but as dignity. Sitting meditation is an act of respect toward awareness itself. When energy is restored, distraction rooted in dullness dissolves quickly. Joy as antidote to aversion and resistance. Many distractions are fueled by subtle aversion. The mind does not like what is happening and seeks escape. This can appear as impatience, irritation, boredom, or compulsive thinking. The antidote here is joy. Not excitement, but gentle appreciation. Appreciate the simplicity of sitting. Appreciate the safety of the moment. Appreciate the fact that nothing is required right now. When joy is present, the mind stops looking for entertainment. Distractions lose their emotional fuel. Even difficult sensations become workable when the atmosphere is kind and uplifted. Tranquility as antidote to restlessness. When the mind jumps constantly from one object to another, tranquility is deficient. To cultivate tranquility, soften everything that can be softened. Relax the face, relax the shoulders. Let the breath become natural and unforced. Allow attention to widen rather than chase. Tranquility calms the nervous system directly. As the body settles, the mind follows. Restless distractions fade when there is nothing sharp to catch on. Concentration as antidote to fragmentation. Some distractions arise not from agitation or dullness, but from lack of unification. The mind is pulled in many directions at once. Here, the antidote is concentration. Gently gather attention around a stable anchor. This may be the breath, bodily presence, or awareness itself. Do not force exclusivity. Allow the mind to unify naturally. When concentration is balanced, distractions lose coherence. Thoughts may still arise, but they do not pull attention away. They pass like distant sounds. Equanimity as antidote to emotional distraction. Strong emotions are among the most powerful distractions. Desire, fear, anger, and grief can dominate awareness if equanimity is weak. Equanimity does not suppress emotion. It allows emotion without interference. When an emotion arises, let it be fully present, without adding a story. Feel it as sensation. Let it move and change. With equanimity, emotions lose their authority. They become experiences rather than commands. the mind remains steady even in their presence. Diagnosing distraction quickly. With practice, the 7 factors become an intuitive diagnostic tool. When distraction appears, ask silently, what is missing? What is excessive? If the mind is dull, increase investigation and energy. If the mind is restless, increase tranquility and equanimity. If the mind is fragmented, increase concentration. If the mind is resistant, increase joy. If the mind is lost, return to mindfulness. This diagnosis happens quickly and wordlessly in mature practice. The final antidote. Ultimately, the deepest antidote to distraction is understanding. Distraction is not a mistake. It is part of the training. Each time it is met skillfully, wisdom grows. When the 7 factors are balanced, very subtle distractions still arise in some occasions, but they no longer matter. The mind remains awake, steady, and free in the midst of movement. This is the real cure. Not a silent mind, but an unshakable one.
The book, The 7 Factors of Awakening, is available on Amazon as Kindle, paperback, and hardcover.